Welcome to Inkhaven Presents, Readings from the Archive. I'm Ben, and I invite writers from the internet to bring essays that they have written and to read them to us and discuss them. My guest today is Nancy, who's a resident here at Inkhaven. Thanks for talking with me today, Nancy. What's the essay you've brought for us today?
It's the first part of a series I wrote about a coworker I had when I worked in high-frequency trading.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is the first of a 12-part series.
Yeah.
Which I don't know that you knew it would be 12 parts when you started writing it.
No. I was surprised that I even wrote this. I very rarely write about my trading days, but it was emotionally present for me. And I feel like that's often why I write things. And it was a cool experiment for Inkhaven because normally my essays are like, I don't know, 10,000 words long. But this one I broke up into little episodes, and that was a cool exercise.
Before you arrived, I had read your writing about your the growth and then failure of your startup to great heights and then crashing down. And then I'd also read about you, working to find a husband and start a family and all those things. And I was like, great. Well, it's nice that Nancy has told the two big stories of her life. Probably she will not have more stories.
Oh.
And then it turns out she has many more stories. Great. Yeah. Is there anything we need to know before we listen to it about it? Or is it self-explanatory?
There's nothing to be known.
Yeah. It's a true story.
Yes. Yes. All my stories are true. That's why the title of my Substack is True Story.
Oh, gotcha. Did you not do a fiction series later on?
Yeah, but that's on a secret other Substack.
I apologize for mentioning it. I can even cut it if you like.
No, it's okay. It's not that secret. I think the only reason it's slightly secret is because, I wrote it pseudonymously, mm-hmm. and everything I write in this fantasy world is pseudonymous so far because there's sometimes a lot of sex. Mm-hmm. And I also write fiction that is not sex, like there's no sex in it. And I want to keep those two worlds separate in case like my readers want to follow my books. I don't want them to be shocked suddenly that now there are these series with sex in them.
That seems reasonable. Yeah. I don't know if there's anything you want to say about like why you chose to write this story about Ash. I think it was salient, just like things have just changed like a month prior.
Yeah, it had happened really recently. It was actually on I don't want to ruin the ending because as I was releasing and writing each section, people would come up and be like, is this what happens? Is this what happens? I thought it was obvious what was going to happen, but apparently not. But that often happens with some of the things I write where I think it's very clear what will happen and people are still surprised. So yeah, it was actually on my flight to the Bay Area that I learned what had happened to him in the end. And it took me a while to digest it. And I think in some ways I'm still processing it, but definitely the act of writing about it helped me process it.
Gotcha. All right. Well, thank you very much. And let's listen to that.
Okay. $10,000 bets on my Series 7, Young, Brilliant, and Wrong, Part 1. Ash, name changed because he can't give permission. And I first met at work when I was 21 and he was 26. He scared me because he looked like a cool white kid. And it was deep in my brain that cool, rich white kids were mean to dorky Asian kids like me. I dated some rich white kids, but they were clearly nerds and therefore safe. At the office, I was the only female trader and the youngest woman. My first task was to pass the Series 7 exam, which I scheduled for the first slot possible so that I could start trading ASAP, a month after my start date. When I returned to the office from taking the exam, I was surprised to see people hanging around on the trading floor. Everyone usually left promptly at 3:30 p.m. Central Time when markets closed. How'd you do? I got a 70, the lowest passing score. Perfect score, a trader I'll call F whistled before making his hasty escape. I later learned that these traders had neglected their infant children and young wives to hear my score, some betting more than $10,000 on my test result. Someone told me K shorted F all the way down. I wonder how K knew how lazy I could be when there was little upside in being less lazy. I liked F and hadn't known he had so much faith in my test taking. I felt bad for destroying his image of the studious Asian girl genius. I would have studied more had I known. And damn you, K, even though you were right. The next day, management, dressed in button-down shirts and dress shoes, unlike everyone else's t-shirts and sneakers, came to the trading floor to say something unprecedented. We're banning trading on Series 7 or 55 scores. We're getting more well-known, and we don't want the SEC to ask why we're trading tens of thousands of dollars during the trading day on new hire regulatory exams. I learned my Series 7 score was the most widely traded in company history with so much volume and size that management noticed and discussed it, despite everyone betting on things all the time. F told me he earned back some of the money he lost on my Series 7 by betting on himself in a push-up contest, despite claiming not to have done push-ups in years and vowing not to prepare, after confirming that resting while piking up from all fours was allowed. Thus was the water I dove into headfirst, a thriving, feral, high-frequency trading company that was growing and putting in its first guardrails. Like me, Ash stuck out, but for a different reason. He had a tongue stud and clearly put effort into his appearance. Ash had artfully shaped hair and wore clothes from brands I'd never heard of, but now know to be obscure luxury gear, where hoodies cost $1,000 and the hoods lined with baby camel hair and the pockets secretly quilted inside with eiderdown. Even before Ash made his millions, he must either have the best or nothing. He was handsome and aloof and didn't smile at approaching people. Instead, he stayed still, watching everyone from the corner of his eye like a solemn rabbit. When I joined the company, men immediately started hitting on me, offering to help, show me around, leaning against my desk. Ash did not make eye contact with me. Sometimes people asked me whether we dated, but we never did. We were friends and we came up together.
Well, thanks very much for reading that. I enjoyed hearing you read it in your voice. What did you notice differently reading it out loud than just when you had written it?
There are many edits I want to make. I think talking to Scott Alexander, he had said, like, you should write the way you speak. And I think maybe I'm not very good at speaking because I try to write the way I speak, but I also make a lot of grammatical errors. In my defense, I am a native speaker of Chinese first, so I think maybe that could be contributing to some of my weirdness. But I noticed, there's a lot of things I wanted to change now. And then also, having now written the whole series and learned more about writing from Inkhaven, I think there were things that I was getting ideas on changing.
Yeah. How did it unfold? Did you initially expect it to just have a few parts? When did you realize it was going to go as long as it did?
I finally kind of sketched out the outline of what I thought the parts would be, maybe after the third or fourth part. So then that's when I was like, oh, it's going to be at least 10 or something. And then I really tried to keep, I'm naturally much more verbose, I think. So the practice here has been for me to try to focus and cut down on stuff. So whenever I would have a part that was ballooning beyond 500 words, I'd cut it down. And then some of that stuff, though, had content that I felt was useful to still keep. So then I would clump it into a new part that I wasn't expecting to have.
Yeah. No, I think it's the shortest piece that anyone has read on the podcast.
I didn't know that.
Everyone keeps bringing these 2,000 word behemoths.
Oh my.
And what was it like? So was it difficult to turn what was just, parts of your life into pieces with beginning, middle, ends and a hook with each one of them? Was that a new challenge or?
The first thing I did was I had gone through all of our correspondence that I still had. A lot of it I don't have anymore just because of, life and stuff like that. And all of the things that we corresponded through in trading, I no longer had. All those materials are confiscated as soon as you leave the company. But looking through all that helped me process some of it because a lot of stuff I had forgotten or misremembered. And I think that's always interesting for me when I go back and actually look at the facts. I'm like, oh, that this is really what happened. Just even the timeline of things will have been switched in a way that would have really changed the meaning I would have made over the experience.
Because you were so young when it happened, when you were getting to know him. Were you 19 at the beginning of that story?
No, I was 21 when I started in this company, when I started trading, and I left when I was 26 or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was an intensive period of my time. And I also, I feel like normally I write a lot to remember what happened and to make meaning of what happened. And all my writings from that time are also gone. And I never published any of it. It's a very secretive space. I think even now people don't really know what high frequency trading is. So although people are a lot more sophisticated with financial stuff now, but I just like did not have a blog. I didn't have a Facebook or LinkedIn. And so like not having any record of what had happened was kind of weird for me. So this is all like me kind of for the first time piecing together everything that happened. And when I wrote the first installment, I sent it to two of my old trading friends. And then it was fun hearing them remember stuff from that time period too. And also learning things I had never known, actually, that they remembered about the experience. And
Was it about the conversations they had with you or about the events that happened at the workspace?
In this case, it was about specifically trading my Series 7, which they remembered in ways that I hadn't, because I wasn't even part of that like group chat.
Yeah.
That like, I mean, I could have been, but I was like just too much of a noob to even understand. Like there's all this shorthand lingo that people were using. So I just didn't process what was going on when they were trading my exam score. But one of my friends, he still even probably remembers every poker hand he's ever played over the decades. So he had a very good memory for what he remembered happened. And it was stuff that I had never talked with anyone about, really. So it was like learning for the first time, like how much money he lost on it and how much like various people bet and why he thought different people bet in a particular way. And so that was fun, reminiscing over that. We didn't reminisce as much over Ash, but I had also sent them the essay partly after telling them what had happened.
Anytime I've looked back on my life from like a decade ago, I feel very differently now, and I'm almost a different person. Was there any parts that was especially surprising to remember about yourself, or any parts you, as you say, from looking back, you now see in a very different light?
Oh, definitely. I have so much more compassion for my coworkers now. I think at the time there was a lot of like us versus them.
Yeah, you mentioned that a little in some of the parts that
Yeah.
I think coworkers seem to have some incentive to not even help each other out or something.
Yeah, and to me that was very like hypocritical, because one of the key company values was to like give leverage to as many people as possible and to like think like an owner and respect each other. There's just a lot of stuff like that. And everyone, we were in the Midwest too, so everyone just has at least a veneer of being very nice. Like everyone was, I think in their at least personal life, like a super nice person. So it's just weird to then be like stonewalled or just, yeah, with your own team, like have these things be unspoken and like not know why they're upset with you, but you're clearly doing something wrong and like changing the norm. But now looking back, I really understand what was going on. And even at the time, maybe I theoretically could understand, but I didn't have any compassion for it. But now I definitely have a lot of compassion for how people were behaving and feeling.
Oh, in what way? What was something that they...
Here's an example that I think most illustrates my idiocy at the time. So we were writing like peer reviews of each other every quarter, and this is an important part of your bonus. And we would talk about transparency as an important part of the company. So I sent the peer review that I wrote that was very negative to the person that I had written it about. And maybe a less wronger might also do this. It's like in the vibe of like, you know, something that I think someone who doesn't have that much social awareness and is very young and naive and idealistic would do. So like people did not tend to do this at the company, and they would anonymize the peer reviews when they sent them to each other. Like in the bonus conversation, they would show you what they called snippets, and it was supposed to be anonymous. Often you could figure out who wrote it, but there was still plausible deniability, which is important for people to get along socially, which none of which I appreciated. Now knowing about common knowledge and like all these other like ways that people actually behave, I'm like, oh, that was not correct for me to do that, even though I thought I was helping the person.
I just want to defend young Nancy here and be like, yes, at the Lycone team,
Yeah.
I've had people sit me down and be like, cool, so here's why I'm going to go to the boss to recommend he fire you. And I'm like, cool, thanks for the feedback. I appreciate it. I agree I could be doing better on these things.
Yeah, I really thought that he would appreciate that I had read that because in my view, I don't have the review anymore that I wrote, obviously. But I thought that I was being like honest and helpful. Like I didn't think I was being really mean or anything. I thought like here's my feedback. Like here's how you could improve, that kind of thing. And now I see like obviously reviews now, and also now being a manager, I see like when you write a review of someone, it's not just feedback. Like you have to write it in a particular way because it's a really sensitive document. It's not just you like speaking with someone and giving them feedback. Like you have to be really careful and like just 10 times more positive than you are negative. So that's one thing I did not know. And then another is like if you have like even now as a manager, I think I'd be very reluctant to say like anything negative almost ever and just focus on the positive if I really wanted this person to change. So there was a lot of like co-working and managerial stuff that was not appropriate. And then also for me, I really took it seriously that I was supposed to think like an owner. And here I was like a year into the company giving feedback to someone who had been there for like maybe just 3 years or whatever. But even so is like an adult man who's older than me. And I'm like doing better than them and telling them like here's why you could be doing better, here's why I know more than like there was a dynamic there that I wasn't appreciating and that even without me writing this review would cause it to be a weird relationship like so I didn't appreciate that at all. And then there was like
I think it is good to know what is going on and why, and I endorse the understanding of the dynamics.
yeah.
I still mostly think I would defend. Yep, the younger
Well,
person.
it was not helpful. It was the result. Like, I think it really damaged our relationship, and it also like, I think like, honestly, I think it was the beginning of this person like, spiraling in a way.
Oh.
Like, I think I don't think I like was the only force at all in this. I think there were other things going on with him, but like. He did not need me also like saying this on top of just the reality of everything else that was happening. So yeah, I think it was like very naive where I'm like, I'm going to help you. And instead now I see like people like my attitude now is everyone is doing the best they are able to do no matter what's going on with them. And I shouldn't take it upon myself to be like their hero or whatever,
Did your better understanding of this come from just thinking about it or from chatting with the other people at the time or?
No, not at all. Like, I think during that whole time, I did not really grow that much as a person.
But I mean, looking back on it recently.
Oh, yeah. Now it's from all of my experiences, like running my company, I think, basically. And I think I matured a lot emotionally doing this company. I don't think I needed to mature emotionally in my trading job because I was succeeding. Mm-hmm. It was working for me to be as I was. So I started my company like also with a very naive set of attitudes about interpersonal interactions and like leadership and lots of things. And some of that stuff was effective and worked, but then other things now I see like from a different light and just have more compassion for people and respect for people.
Yeah. Lots of people who I talk to who've been through like trading lives of it is very intense, and they often pick up a kind of perspective on the world where they're constantly talking about all the strategies that everyone is playing at any given time. Like Zvi Moshevitz is very good at being like, cool, so here's a situation and here's how you might play it. But here are 10 other strategies which you might play it, and here's what everyone is doing. Is this a perspective you think you carry and carried beyond that, or did you mostly had those focuses at the time?
Yeah, I think I benefited a lot from that kind of thinking. You have to think definitely a lot about the different market participants. And just inside of a company, it gets very political when you're like, when it's a down quarter and you're fighting over a zero-sum game, then it becomes very political. And there's often like, promises of the future that are implicit in there for you to like continue playing that game. So yeah, it isn't a weird way to see the world that probably is not unique to trading, but like definitely is made more explicit there.
I'm curious about feedback at Inkhaven that you may have gotten on the writing of this series. Was there anybody you shared it with, or any good feedback that you that shaped it? Alternatively, perhaps you just
I learned a lot about writing from Max Harms. Like in one of his first talks, it was probably the first talk I went to. It shaped how I wrote the whole series. Even just the title of the talk I thought was illuminating, which was like tension, the most important part of writing, or something like that.
I think it was the second most
Yeah,
important
he
part.
eventually edited it to the second most important part of writing.
Classic rationalist.
Yeah, but I think that was even like created even more tension for me because I was like, oh, what is the first important? You know, I was like, wow, he's so clever. Like even in the title, it's creating like even more tension. Yeah, I think it helped me to like know how to not only write each episode as its own story that caused you to want to read the next episode, hopefully, which I think you can see gets much better, unfortunately, after the first episode, because I had written that before hearing his talk. But I think I heard his talk before I wrote the second episode. So then I think that's much improved. But he said this thing that I now think about all the time in my writing, which is that every sentence should increase the tension of your story until the climax, when you then reveal everything. And every sentence should be both increasing hooks and, like, you know, the questions that get your reader to be hooked, and delivering a payoff. Ideally, maybe sometimes a sentence only does one or the other, but ideally it's doing both at the same time. And it's delivering the payoff at a slower rate than it's increasing the hooks, so that the reader feels the tension increasing until the climax, when all of the payoffs occur. But I thought that was a really insightful guideline that I had never heard before. And it also helped me to shape all of the details that I included in the story. Now I can look back at my other posts that I'd written prior to Inkhaven and see how I just didn't understand. Like, I would be remembering something that had happened, and I would include other interesting and true, like, world building details or anecdotes. But now I see, like, oh, I needed to have cut those because they were not increasing the tension of this specific story. And that really helped with this series, because I have so many stories from that time of my life and things that happened, and other crazy characters, and, you know, just a lot of drama. But through thinking about Max's sentence, like, saw how clear it was, like, oh, these aren't going to increase the tension right now of this specific paragraph I'm doing, or like this thread. So I'm just not going to include that. And that was a much easier way to look at focusing than I'd ever seen before.
That's great. Yeah, I thought you did a really good job of each episode having an interesting story, and also making me want to keep reading and find out what was going on next, as opposed to, it wasn't just a like, and then next week something crazy happened. There was a whole flow.
Yeah,
through
exactly.
The whole thing.
Yeah, I think Max is really masterful at that. And if you like H.P. Moore, obviously he's a master at this. I think Max learned a lot of his tension concepts from Eliezer, and mentioned that he talked with Eliezer about this, and how, you know, Eliezer is like the dom sadist that has this idea of, like, this is how you really, like, control your I guess, subs attention. And
personally, I skipped those parts of the plane crash.
Yeah, they're definitely uncomfortable. But I had not really, like, yeah, it was just really illuminating thinking about things from that perspective. And I think it really benefited the piece. Because, like, normally I don't think about that at all, obviously. And it's easier when you're just writing one big chunk to just throw everything in and, like, you know, then take the scraps and just kind of put them in at the end or something like that.
Yeah.
And, like, when you have that framework, you can't do that.
It's interesting to think about it. I think in HPMR there's, like, scenes that are them kind of lounging about in the library or having, like, calm, interesting conversations, but, like, something about the point of the scene is really important to the plot, such that even though I'm like, yep, we're taking a calm time, I really want to know what happens in this situation. Yeah. How much writing had you done before? You had your Substack, which had, I think, a few tens of posts.
So I majored in writing at MIT.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but I
should have known that.
Well, my primary major was math.
I see.
But I double majored in writing. And so I always had a strong interest in writing. And then like only wrote internal documents basically during my trading days. And then I kind of started writing a little more when I started the company. And it was a good recruiting tool for like candidates would often see my blog and then be like, oh,
Mm.
I'm drawn to this for whatever reason. And then after stopping running my company,
How
I
long did you run it for?
5 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I maybe even longer, honestly. I don't know. Um, I then would write a blog post maybe once every 6 months because I think most of my posts are some kind of cathartic revelation of insights of processing this like big experience that I had. So I don't have those that frequently. So it'd be like every 6 months or whatever, I'd have some revelation and then be able to write about that. Um, and I mainly would write on my website. For Inkhaven, I wanted to like try doing my Substack more, which I'd never really done that much with because I don't know, I was just accustomed to my website, which I'd had for a really long time. Um, but doing the Substack, I really see why people do it because it's like you get to have friends on Substack and like talk with each other. And I don't have stuff like that on my website. I don't have this enabled.
Have you been having other people, either at Inkhaven or other friends, commenting on your posts?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think that's part of why I have a blog at all is just to connect with other people. And I've made through friends through my writing, and it's been really fun. And I also recently self-published a fantasy novel, and I have other novels that are on deck that I want to publish. So mainly, whenever I'm not momming now, I'm writing or just doing nothing, like reading, watching movies, lounging around.
Uh-huh. What was your intention with coming to Inkhaven?
I wanted to make friends with other writers who inspired me. Um, writing is a very isolating process, or writing can be very lonely.
Yeah.
I think some people, like Alicorn, are able to, do it in a way that's very collaborative. So for the fantasy novel I recently published, I first wrote the draft of that on Archive of Our Own.
Yeah.
And that's kind of collaborative. Like they're not helping me write it, but they're reading every chapter as I write it and commenting and stuff like that.
Does AO3 have comments?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, and that was really fun. Like, I think that made the first draft come really easily because they're, guessing what's going to happen next and stuff like that. So it's just really motivating to have these invisible people following you. And then the editing process was extremely slow and boring because it's like the opposite of that. You have at most like a handful of beta readers or something, or like, whereas like thousands of people are reading the first draft, now it's like 3 people are reading every random edit you're making, and it's like not very fun. And it's hard you can't really read an edit the same way you would read a draft because it's like often a weird structural change that you made. So like it has to be a professional editor who's reading it and like comparing. So I don't know. It was like very slow and boring doing the edits. And I was like, I need more friends. I need more writing friends. And, I have my like writing coaches and editors and people like that, but they're like under my employ, So it wasn't the same. And I'm like, I want people who are better than me at writing or take it more seriously than me. And I want to feel inspired. And I think I've had like glimmers of that in my life with different writing clubs and classes I've been in. Like I used to run the Y Combinator writing club,
Oh,
and that was really fun too. But we ended that during COVID because before everyone used to meet at my house and we would drink tea and like talk about
was that a
our
fair few
writing.
people?
What's that?
How many people roughly was that?
I don't know. I feel like each time it'd be like around 10 people, and not everyone would come every time, but there were a few people that came every time, and then other people would like float in and out as they had different posts that they would write, usually about their companies or something like that. But even then, it was like, I think I was the most into the actual craft of writing of the people there. It was like, it wasn't at the level that it is here where I'm learning like new concepts about writing.
Have you gotten what you were looking for?
Oh, yeah. I think the advisors have been really amazing. I've learned so much from them. And I think that always surprises me when I learn a new writing concept because I'm always like, well, what else is there? Like, I've read so many books and I've had so many editors and coaches, I know this stuff. But yeah, there's more. There's often more. And that's been really fun every time I like can see on a meta level my writing more clearly.
Other than the thing that Max said, what's one of the best pieces of
Oh
I don't know,
God. I
writing
mean, there's so
advice
many
or
things. Like
feedback that someone's given you?
just yesterday, Scott Alexander read one of my posts and gave me a ton of feedback. It's the toddler's secret, my toddler's secret.
Oh,
And
I think I've not managed to read that one yet.
he said he loved it.
Oh,
He said it was very good, but he also said so okay, before Scott read it, two other writing advisors had read the piece and they'd given me their feedback. And so I was like, this is done. Like, like I know like the few fixes I need to make, and now I'm like perfect. Then hearing his feedback, I was like, wow, no one has ever said anything like this to me. And it was really illuminating. And he said so many things. One thing was he noted register changes in my writing. And no one has ever talked about that to me, where he's like, oh, here you're using a more emotional register. And then suddenly you use this word, which is less of an emotional register and more of I use the word ramifications. And he's like, are you aware that this is like a business type of register word? And I was like, no. Like sometimes I do say that word randomly, but like that's without any awareness of like how it's being perceived by the reader, just like for whatever reason, it's part of my spoken vocabulary sometimes. And then, or maybe it isn't, I don't even know. Just for whatever reason, it was an unconsciously chosen word that he drew my awareness to. And I was like, oh, I often do this where like I unconsciously change register. But now that I'm conscious of it, I don't have to do that anymore unconsciously.
It had unspoken ramifications. But he picked that up with someone else. He was like, you're writing all of this in the prophetic register, which is a bold choice. I don't quite think the rest of the post justifies it, but you can choose it if you really want it. But otherwise, you could write it here more simply and plainly, and gave him. And the guy was like, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and he was like, the emotional register is what's working for you, and then when you go through this other register of like remembering and stuff, it's different, and you can understand why. And he just had so many specific actual writing craft notes that I was like, wow, I'm like gonna bow at the feet of this master of the craft of writing, which I don't think I had ever appreciated, because you read his posts and you're like, I had just come off, when I read his posts, I'm like, oh, he's like a great thinker, like he's really smart and he has great ideas. And I think I just had skimmed over the fact that he's also excellent at the craft of writing, which should be obvious, but it wasn't. I was like, oh, like, is there anything about a sentence structure that I'm admiring? Usually not.
Yeah, it reminds me actually, just the other night I watched Kurosawa's Ikiru, which is now maybe my spirit film, maybe my favorite film.
Oh, it's so sad.
But I think I was like going, wow, what a simple story and so on. And then my friends afterwards were talking about like extremely complex things he was doing with the like scene layout and the foreground and the background, a bunch of things. And I was not aware of that. I was like, oh, just a simple story. But I think I increasingly find that like the great things that I think of as very simple, actually there's a great deal of craft behind them that I'm not like aware of.
Yeah, hearing just how deeply he understands writing and word choice and grammar, like I don't know a lot of those things, and he just taught us so many new concepts, like parallelism I'd never heard of. Like I think a lot of these things we might intuitively sense, as just speakers of English, but he really knows that stuff.
He internally in his head, his internal monologue is complete sentences.
He was great at speaking too.
Yeah, it's not true of me. It's not true of many people. And I think it helps him a lot in both writing and also describing writing and giving feedback on writing. Instead of like being like, that like, color or shape or fuzzy feeling or tension in me, I need to express it with words. Yeah. He's just thinking words the whole time in his head. So he's very well equipped to.
Yeah, it's amazing like how articulate he was about the specific things that he was seeing, because often I feel like feedback is like what you said, just fuzzy like that.
Yeah.
But he was really specific and like eloquent about it. And then at the end, like everyone just like burst into applause, like, which I hadn't really seen. Like I think we were just so like entranced by his like assessment of everything that he had taught us. Not just my piece, I mean, like he'd done multiple pieces, but I don't know, that's how I felt. I was like so moved at the end of his writing talk. And then when I told my husband about it, he was like, oh yeah, it's like how Paul Graham is like actually an excellent writer. And we think again, like, oh, he's just good at the ideas or whatever. But I think he is also really good at the craft, and he really labors over that part. And he talks
Yes.
about that a lot. And it's like, we don't really see that or appreciate it necessarily. Or we think that he's just like, trimming down the fat of the word, but there's like a lot more
Yeah.
that goes there. And now I can see some of that. And I'm like, oh, okay, I really need to edit some of my writing.
I've even started, after hearing a few Scott things, I've started doing it in my last one comments. I've started being like, I could be cutting all these words. I could be,
Yes.
I bet, how would Scott rewrite it? He'd be like, put this idea here. And I'm starting to try and,
Yes, it's interesting. I wonder if it's like, well, I like when some things in your writing reveal a lack of clarity of thought in your own mind. I think that's a cool tell to notice. But then I'm like, I wonder what it's like if you just really did think that clearly all the time. Is it a good way to format your brain? Like maybe it has other ramifications that we don't know.
I do not know either.
Yeah.
Um,
I learned so much from the different writing advisors. I feel like everyone, like Georgia she was the second talk I went to, I think on the second day also. And also just even from the title of her talk, I was like, oh, clickbait titles. Like I've never even thought about the titles of my posts that much, because normally I just post on my website, and everyone who reads my website like knows me or is 1 degree away from me and just reads everything that I write. So I don't need to think about clickbaiting them. They're going to read it. But even thinking about it for like a few seconds, I was like, oh, I immediately see how I'm going to improve the title of this post. Like the original title of the post was not $10,000 bets on my series 7. I like included a number because she said that was a clickbait feature.
Yeah.
People like numbers. And then I was like, oh, it's easy for me to include a number in every one of these titles actually. And then and I had initially just had the same title for everything in the series.
oh no.
And I was like, oh, why do this? Like they are actually standalone episodes to some degree. So I'm going to make each one have a unique title. So there was like all this stuff that I incorporated immediately upon hearing her insight.
Some part of me, has been reacting a bit to the use of the word clickbait a lot, because, using a different title for each episode in your story, clickbait has a very negative connotation of like deceiving someone or something. I think people are using it, but indeed it's just like, make writing that people want to read is a pretty useful thing to do, and it is a good thing, and people appreciate you writing things that people want to read. I appreciate that you didn't give me the title, just same title, number 7, number 8, number 9. That gave me a more full story feeling. Experience.
Well, it was like that to begin with until like title 5 or something. Like I had the same concern about clickbait, but she was like, oh, you're the one that should be doing clickbait titles because your content is actually interesting to people. So like, make it clear that it would be interesting to read a specific thing.
Yeah. I have a sense that you are probably in the top, at least 25th percentile of going out and actually getting feedback from writing advisors.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Many people, the last person I interviewed was like, yeah, I didn't do it once.
Oh, wow. That's been my favorite part. Because like, I think it's such a unique opportunity to write something, get feedback on it, and then publish and then show them the revision, and then finally publish that. And then because I have like some things that are multi-part, then take that learning and like put in the next part so they can see like, oh, you learned from this thing that I said about the prior piece.
You've been a day ahead basically every day, right? That's great.
I don't think I could do it any other way, because like the one time I did over the Bodega Bay weekend, I did fall behind, and it was because Justice was busy and he took extra time to give me feedback. And then I was writing day of, and that was really weird because I'm like, oh, I'm just going to publish this post naked. Like it has not been like approved. And that was really odd. And yeah, I'm sure those posts are worse because I never like got his feedback. And then I think I asked for so much feedback from different people that I'm pretty sure Alexander Wales like throttled me. It's like too many messages. And he's like, I'm not going to react to any of these anymore.
That's very funny. Is there any particular Inkhaven experience that's especially unique or going to last with you, that's very Inkhaven shaped?
Oh gosh. With having my baby around, I feel like it took until like week 3 to like really settle into the groove. Because he got sick twice.
Yeah, that was
and
rough.
like, and the thing when he gets sick is even though he's getting sick because of daycare, then they don't let you go to the daycare.
Yeah.
So then you have to like take care of him yourself, basically, because it's very hard to find childcare at that late notice. So I realized when you guys sent that feedback form that I had gone to like 0 social events. And I don't think I would have noticed that except you specifically asked. So I was very grateful that we did this feedback thing. And I was like, oh, my whole reason is to make more writing friends. And I didn't do any social events because we'd be asleep by like 9. And I feel like everyone is, doing stuff mainly after like 10, 11 at
Yeah.
least.
When
Yeah.
they've just finished most of these
Yeah,
terrible
yeah. They
scoundrels.
haven't submitted. I've usually submitted like very early in the day, and then I'm like doing Baba stuff. And then if he's sick, he wakes up in the middle of the night, so I have to go to sleep as soon as he's asleep, or it's gonna be like terrible. So I don't know. There's just so much stuff where I'm like, I'm really out of sync with like the social population here. Like I think my only friend was Jasmine because she's like the most friendly. And that's kind of my default mode where I have a lot of friends who are good at making friends. So therefore I'm their friend and it's not because of anything I'm doing. So I'm like, oh, I need to like try harder to socialize. And so then I did yeah, my first social event was Vishal's screening of Wuthering Heights, which then was really fun because that led to me then writing a controversial post on Wuthering Heights.
Because he hated it.
Yeah.
And he was so annoyed that everyone else was having a good time and
He was?
liking it. Well, not
Oh,
like,
that's
yeah.
funny. I guess it's very Inkhaven that this social event led to more writing, but like he wrote his hate post about it, and then I wrote a controversial assessment of Wuthering Heights, and I haven't written a book review in a really long time. So that was new, and I've never written a contra, so I'm not sure I did contra correctly. I should have gone to. I really wanted to go to Ozzy's like talk about that, but having failed that, I don't know that I did it right.
You make it sound like a dance form. Like, I need to learn the steps of the
Yes.
contra.
Yes. Well, I think it is in our art in a lot of ways to like do it fairly, or that's what I would have assumed from Ozzy's post, but I didn't. I didn't actually learn anything, so I just did it what's in the way that seemed most natural to me, and I don't think I did it right because he seemed to think that I was arguing something different than what I was actually arguing about him specifically, and I'm like, oh, I didn't do the contra thing right, but then it kind of inspired him to at least plan a dark romance short story himself,
Oh, yes.
which I think is very exciting. I'm very excited from just by the notion of him writing a dark romance, of a writer of that caliber, like and like personality, kind of like bending his mind to this. I think
Yeah.
it'll be like really unique and groundbreaking, and I'm excited to read it. And yeah, overall, it was just like a wonderful social experience because even though like it's a movie, we were talking the whole time, and I think it was really fun seeing
Nice.
different people's perspective of it because it's not like a serious movie like the movie you watched
Yeah.
is like you can kind of talk during this movie. And then I don't know, I liked all the events that I've done. I think my main impression, which I always knew, is that Canadians are super nice, but I don't think I'd really seen that they are indeed very, very, very nice.
Well, there was one thing that Inkhaven is here to prove is that Canadians match their stereotypes.
They were really nice. Yeah, I'm
We
like,
have
wow.
too many. We had like 6 or 7 out of a cohort of 55. It was like more than 10% or something.
Everyone's super nice. Like, Jasmine like cooked dinner for my baby.
Aw.
Like everyone's been super, super nice. I'm like, wow, should I go to Canada? But it's like too cold. Obviously, I won't go. But it's just really cool. I hope they'll like come hang out with me in Hawaii and like continue, cooking for me and whatever.
Had you been here to Lighthaven before this
No.
event? But I think had you interacted with Rasmus much before?
Yeah, I think I was always like kind of on the fringe. I was in really early. Like I think Aaron actually recognized me. He was like, "Oh, you used to be like Miri used to talk about you as like a success story or whatever." Because like I did one of their first CFAR workshops.
Oh, wow.
And it was part of it's where I met some YC people, and I hadn't even done YC yet, but it like caused me then to like move to the Bay Area in a way and apply to YC. And then I hired one of the people I had met at that first CFAR workshop, and like obviously HP Moore was hugely influential. Like I hosted one of the rap parties. It was just like a cultural experience to like.
I too hosted a rap party.
What's that?
I too hosted a rap party.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was an amazing like experience for us all to just be reading HP Moore as he was writing it, and I loved how he did like the contest at the end or whatever it was, the test at the end.
Yes.
And
Final exam.
yeah, exactly.
Did you submit for the final exam?
Yeah, I have one of the solutions that he put into his book. Yeah, and I had
Wait, which one? Which one?
the Dementors.
Oh, Harry expects the Dementors
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I thought that
Congratulations.
was where he was gonna go. To me, thematically, that seemed like the best solution, honestly.
Well, now that you mention it, it seems very reasonable. But
Yeah. Like I feel like his science solution came out of nowhere because we had already ended the science arc anyway. So
Yes.
like to have this random thing. Like none of us would have thought of that solution. You know what I mean? It felt like
I think for
homesick.
him it was a little difficult because he had like set it up for himself like 2 or 3 years prior when he was initially starting the book. He was like, "That's how that will go," and then
Oh,
he wrote
okay.
so much more.
Then he
Because I
planned.
think the very first line of the book is a silver glint in the
Yeah, that's true.
darkness. So yeah, I think he wrote a lot more than he'd planned, and it went in
That's
many ways.
interesting.
And
That's
but he always
interesting.
says, yeah, there was only one set of closing parentheses to the opening parentheses that I had.
Yeah, I feel his ending is unsatisfying because how would any normal person have thought that that would be the ending though? Like there should have been some more clues other than just a
That's fair.
random opening line. Like because we had never even talked about this concept of these particles. I don't know. It was just like not an important part of the book. It was not in the book, so like I don't think any of us could have guessed it.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the hallmark of an ending that just like is not that satisfying. But it's fine. It's it's a masterpiece in its own right and in its own right for many other
Sure.
reasons. And like yeah, H.P. Moore was my favorite book for a long time, and I had many friends where all we did was talk about H.P. Moore for hours.
Oh,
Every time we met, we would talk about it for like 2 hours, and then like go our respective ways. And then like when I first started the company, I made everyone read it,
that's
and it
hilarious.
wasn't even finished. So we'd all just be, I would force everyone to read it, and I'd always be like, read at least the first 10 chapters and blah, blah, blah. And like, these are not, a lot of these people were not the target audience for the book, but I was just so obsessed with it. I was blind to like that fact. And yeah, I loved H.P. Moore. And, I think I think I'm often on like the fringe of a community but never that deep. I think because of like, maybe I just don't know how to do that or I'm not willing to like invest as much as it would take to get deeper. Um, but yeah, I've always like known about the rationalists.
So has this felt a little different being
I mean, I'm amazed by how much it's grown. Like the first encounter I had with the rationalist community was, I guess, Miri and Sifar. Although, like, I was reading Eliezer when he was just writing on overcoming bias, and then when he went to Less Wrong, I think I like fell off of Less Wrong when it became people who were not just Eliezer. Like, I never made that leap.
Yeah, sorry, I've been contributing to
Well,
that.
I think that was like an amazing. I still don't know the history of it. I'm fascinated. Like, how did this happen? That it like built up away from just Eliezer, and all of that stuff. Like even Miri starting and Sifar starting was amazing. I was like, is Eliezer a genius about like community building on top of these other things? I don't know. I don't know how they did this, or did people just like really take the agentic stuff to heart, and that's what happens when you do that, and they like on their own did it. I don't know, but it's amazing how far it's gone and how elaborate the Less Wrong website and community is now from when I first saw it, and yeah, just how deep it's grown.
Yeah, but I meant that you're here living at Inkhaven for a month at Lighthaven, which is more centrally part of the scene than
Yeah, so maybe I'm back in.
maybe.
Maybe I'm back in touch with like reality.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks so much for coming on this podcast. It was lovely chatting with you,
Thanks for having
and
me.
thanks for writing the pieces. I'm looking forward to reading the rest of them.
Oh, thank you.
All right, farewell for now. Before we wrap up, I'd just like to thank our sponsor for this episode, WordPress.com. As a teenager, many of the blogs I grew up reading were built using WordPress, such as Slate Star Codex, Don't Worry About the Vase, and Shtetl Optimized. The co-founder of WordPress, Matt Mullenweg, went on to build WordPress.com, a hosting service that supports bloggers. It provides an interface that allows you to design your website and to use the near infinite family of libraries and plugins that have been built for WordPress. If you're someone who cares to be able to design your own blog, for your ideas, for your writing, and for your own aesthetic, then by far one of the best options on the internet today is WordPress.com.